All right, my friends. Welcome back to another episode of the Pooch podcast. This is episode number 3. This week, we are going to be going over the NFC West. Again, we're going to be doing the same thing. We're going to be breaking down in this episode each and every game that each team plays. We're going to give our predictions on each and every game and give you a record for each team.
So we're going to start with the NFC West champions, San Francisco 49ers. Kyle Shanahan, they were finally healthy last year, and I got to say, I had them as a dark horse. I did not think they'd go to the Super Bowl, but I had them as a dark horse NFC championship candidate coming into last year. I was dead on right about them, so that felt really good because we live in Washington, so obviously they're not a popular team, but we're sitting them here, and let's get it. Let's hit it.
Let's hit it. All right, week 1, 49ers at home against Arizona. What do you think?
L. It's an L.
It's an L for the 49ers?
It's an L. They got to, so they lost DeForest Buckner and they lose Joe Staley, which are two huge components of their team. So you have some new people coming in on a shortened offseason trying to figure it out. I know that the Cardinals added, their big acquisition here was DeAndre Hopkins. So he's going to be adjusting, but I think that the Cardinals are going to get a close one here and just kind of catch you off guard, right? Coming off a short, weird offseason. The Niners offense will stay without Deebo Samuel. So they're not as plentiful at playbook. So I just think it's kind of a rusty week 1 that the Cards just get a quick carpet pull on the Niners.
Yeah, I'm going to disagree with you on that one, actually. I think it can be a carpet pull, but in San Francisco, week 1, I think the 49ers still take it. I think they take it handily, actually. I think the subtractions of Joe Staley, really Joe Staley is going to be the one that hurts for the subtractions. I don't see DeForest Buckner being the biggest of losses. I know it is a big loss, but they did pick up Javon Kinlaw from South Carolina, and he was an absolute menace in the SEC last year. So I think picking him up at the 14th pick as a defensive tackle, and then maybe they can move some pieces around. I think that defensive line will still be great. I think it will still be something to a scary thing for teams to come in and face.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree. I just think that week 1 is just going to be, I think Isaiah Simmons, and this is getting a little ahead of it, but I think Isaiah Simmons is probably who should have been drafted earlier. He was an absolute stud, so I think that he's a little more locked in place where I think Kinlaw takes a little bit more to get used to just playing on that line. I think that given after week 3, he'll be fine, but I just think, we agree to disagree. This is kind of my boldest take on the Niners schedule is that this game doesn't go their way. Otherwise, I think that it's they're going to be a dominant team this year. So
yeah, I mean, you have them going 12-4, but
yeah,
I don't know. I see that I see that you have some easy wins coming up in the next couple weeks for them.
Yeah, this sucks for them. These next 2 weeks, they got to travel to the same stadium, Jets and Giants. That is awful. They got to fly across the country, but both games it's wins. We talked about the Jets on last episode how they're probably not going to be good, and I'll talk about the Giants that as much as improved as they look in this offseason, I still don't think that they're going to be a dominant team this season.
You're telling me that Daniel Jones is not going to totally dominate that division and come out and beat all the top teams in the NFL?
No, that's what I'm telling you right now.
Dang.
So,
but he gives you a better chance than Eli, remember?
I mean, yeah, that's true. But that's for the Giants episode, Carl.
All right. Well, moving on from week 2 and 3, which I both have as a 49er win.
I think you'd have to be a Jets or Giants diehard fan to think that you're going to win that one.
Yeah, I agree. I think moving on to week 4 is where it gets interesting. That's going to be my first big game for the 49ers. It's going to be at home against the Eagles. I think that'll be a big test for not only the 49ers, but also Carson Wentz and his potential that everybody keeps talking about, even though he has been injury-ridden his entire career. I think that this game is a statement game for the 49ers, one of the ones that they can have this year. I think the Eagles are a good defensive team. I think they can stump Garoppolo, and I think they can get to the quarterback. But really what's going to be here is the Philadelphia offense really going against the 49ers defense. The 49er DBs, which I kind of rank is the lower half of the division, I think, can they handle Carson Wentz's deep ball? It's gonna be an interesting thing.
Look, I've been watching the Eagles for 23 years. They're not going to handle them. As much as I don't like this, I don't think the Niners are. I think comes down to which offense can perform. I think these are both really similar defensive structures, a really strong pass rush with kind of a weaker secondary. And if you ask me who's going to win here, Jimmy G versus Carson Wentz, I'm just going to assume par is normal, and I mean Alshon probably won't be there, but you'll still have Jalen Reagor, Zach Ertz, Dallas Goedert, and Deshaun. And Jalen Reagor and Deshaun are both speedsters who are going to be able to burn these DBs. And you saw in the Super Bowl, Sherman couldn't quite keep up a lot of these plays with Tyreek Hill and the other speedsters. So I think this comes down to who can just get that ugly score, and I think the Eagles can do this. If you want to talk about the Eagles' injuries, usually starting out the season they're healthy, and this is a very talented roster, as much as I don't like to say it. And I just think this is a team that can get past the Niners, I think this Niners offense is going to be a real odd-looking offense the first couple weeks. I know they want to run the ball more, but how much is Tevin Coleman and an unhappy Raheem Mostert going to do?
And McKinnon.
Yeah, okay.
I would say that, though, this is a good spot for the Eagles to be able to take on the 49ers because – as you mentioned, their injuries, it seems like by week 8, they have half their team. And then by maybe week 12, 13, they get about a quarter of them back. And then they start doing okay. And then Carson Wentz can do some things. But I don't see it being a 49ers loss, however. I do see the 49ers still coming out on top. I think it'll be a shootout, though.
Yeah, I mean, it just comes down to kind of what you think is going to I think this comes down to what people think the Niners offense will be, and I think that Debo's going to be slow on the return. I don't think he'll be really an impact till probably week 5 or 6, which unfortunately is after this. But it's a game to watch.
It is definitely a game to watch. All right, moving on to week 5, we have Miami coming into Levi Stadium. What do you have for that?
They're leaving with a big old L. The Niners are winning this one. It's, some of these games, you don't got to overthink. Miami might have improved, but I don't think they've improved that much to take on the Niners and Kyle Shanahan.
If they have Tua, you think it's a different story?
If they play Tua, they're risking Tua not being their franchise quarterback.
Really?
Dude, Fitzpatrick's going to – I don't think Tua's really going to start most of this season. I think him and Herbert both have a really – not great opportunity to start Tua for different reasons, so I think they don't want to get him hurt. But I don't think you could equip anybody out here, and I don't think it'd look worse for Tua just for rookie reasons.
And plus,
O-line still isn't
offensive line last year.
It's still not that much better. They did some drafting into it, but it's still not anything formidable. I mean, they're a more competent team, and this game might not be a blowout, but it's not a fun game for Miami.
The 49ers are hosting the Rams in week 6. How do you feel about that?
Look, I like a lot of the Rams stuff, but no, the Rams have lost a lot. They can't afford players. They're not in a good spot. This is not a fun season for them, so this is not a fun game either. Jared Goff ain't beating Nick Bosa to nothing.
I definitely agree. I think that the 49ers are just, I would say, one of the most well-rounded teams on both sides of the ball in the entire league. So facing a Rams team that can't get their offense going besides Jared Goff throwing over the middle to Cooper Kupp and who's the other guy?
Robert Woods. Their offense looks all right, but it just comes to the offense I don't think will be as good, and the defense just won't be like that. I don't know. I think that their loss of Littleton's going to be huge for middle of the field stuff. Obviously they have Aaron Donald and stuff, but
yeah, I think that the loss of Littleton in this is going to be a huge impact on not only their run game defense, but their pass game as well. I know Littleton would drop back in coverage and be, like a spy, and I think he was one of the better ones to cover Russell Wilson. But
Oh yeah.
I would say that their defense is moving into a one-dimensional form. They'll probably be good against the run, but their pass defense is not going to be the best. I know that they still have Jalen Ramsey, but really, who else do they have besides maybe I like the guy Taylor Rapp from UW. He just always puts in a lot of effort and really makes that team great defensively through the safety position just by sheer will.
Yeah.
But I don't see them coming out with a win against the 49ers. I have the 49ers going 6-0 until this point.
Ooh, so then share week 7 at New England. You made it sound like maybe they're not going 7-0.
They are. That's the big surprise. They will get the dub. This is my second big game for them. This is Jimmy G's first time back in New England, first time playing against Bill Belichick. I think that this might have the drama and everything surrounding it just washed away as soon as the 49ers dominate the New England Patriots. I don't see New England doing a lot on offense against the 49ers. I see them getting to Cam or
Stidham.
I see them getting to Cam or Stidham very easily, and maybe their defense will put up some fight against Jimmy G. But I don't see it being very much of a fight. I think maybe it'll be, like a 28-14 game, but I think the 49ers come out with a big dub on this one.
So I disagree entirely.
Yeah.
Bill Belichick knows this quarterback, and that is one of the worst possible things you could have is that Bill Belichick knows how to get to your quarterback. This isn't a pretty game. This is an ugly kind of back and forth fight. I just think that Bill's able to kind of shut that offense down. And when you have the game at like 10-7 in the fourth quarter, everyone's like, what's going on here? It's because a good defense can stop an all right offense. And I don't think that we know what this New England offense is going to look like, even with Stidham or Cam. They lost their fullback, whose name's escaping me, and I think that handicapped their offense a lot. I think that everyone's kind of expecting this kind of what we've seen for the last 3 or 4 years from Tom Brady offense when it'll be something new, Cam mentioned today, and I think it was Instagram Live or Facebook Live, so that, Josh McDaniels is going to be able to run plays he never was able to run before. So I think this is a new look. Every time we
outside the pocket. Wow.
Yeah, anytime we count out Bill Belichick, he counts himself back in. So I think this is a ugly game, but I do think that if this was at home for the Niners, I think I would have it flipped with it because it's in New England. Bill, it's just a rowdier group. If there are fans, I don't think there will be. So, but it'll be. I think that this will be an ugly game that New England keeps it.
Yeah, I agree. No, I disagree.
Oh, you agree? Perfect. We can just end it there.
Right. To close it out, yeah, I don't think Bill has enough to put up with that 49ers offense. I just don't think they do.
All right. Well, let's get to the game that people this set is the game this year. This is the game right here.
This
49ers at Seattle.
I think these next 3 games are really going to show what kind of team we have with San Francisco.
I think one of these games you're exaggerating a little. We saw what happened last year, but we'll keep it.
We'll get to that. We'll get to that. We'll stick with Week 8 Seattle. In Seattle, so that's gonna be a tough challenge. It always is for 49ers. I say that the 49ers come out with a loss in this one. I only say that because
concur.
I only say that because it always seems like Pete Carroll has one up on Kyle Shanahan in the first game that they meet each year. It just seems like they have something ready to go just to shut down their offense in the first half at least, and then do that Seattle thing where they just go off in the third and fourth quarter, scoring 20, 21 points, see what the other team could do about it.
Win an onside kicker too.
With an onside kicker too. I think as long as Seattle doesn't have another Blair Walsh moment, I think that they should get a tight victory here. I think it'll be hard fought like the 49ers and Seattle always play. But I think Seattle edges them out on this one.
Yeah, I mean, I pretty much agree with you. Maybe not the same avenue, but they split the series 1-1. I think that Seattle is regressing, but I still think that they have a very potent team. Russell Wilson is one of the best quarterbacks in the league, and trying to get to him is, I'm sure, the most annoying thing you can prepare for as a defensive coordinator. And I think that they split this 1-1. Spoiler alert, but I mean, I think Seattle at home just gets the win here. It's a good game either way. I mean, I don't think they'll be as good as they were last year, because both those games were absolute nail biters down to the last second. But this is going to be, I think this is actually
game of inches at the end of the season.
This is the Niners' hardest game of the season. Is these two games against Seattle? They play the Saints, New England. I don't. This right here. This is their hardest games. It's division. These are both still playoff teams. These are good teams.
The two teams that are truly going to be battling for this division, and that wild card spot, and with the new seeding rules and everything like that, they're going to be.
Yeah,
it's going to be very challenging for them. However, I do have to disagree with you on your point that Seattle has been in regression.
Not regressing this year. I think that they will regress this year with the loss of Jadeveon. That defense is taking steps back. I think that the running game is interesting to look at, and this is getting into a little bit ahead. I still think Russell Wilson and that receiving core are phenomenal. I just think that this team is slowly but surely taking some steps back from what it was even 2-3 years ago.
I would have to disagree. I think that they are actually making forward steps. I think that they're losing some people that are free agents and powerful game players that show up maybe four times a year to Jadeveon. But I do think that they're getting better. I think for the past couple of years they've been in regression and just kind of holding on with the help of Russell Wilson, just like the Packers did for 3 or 4 years with Rodgers. I think that Seattle is actually making moves slowly through their draft, as they do, that are going to be making huge impacts for them. And I think that's why they truly compete with San Francisco this year. I don't think they compete with them on the same in the same way that they compete with them as they did last year. I just think that they, with the addition of Quentin Dunbar at DB. And
I wish I had a trombone.
Greg Olsen has another, 3rd and 5, target. I think Greg Olsen is great, and their draft this year was not too shabby. They got some really good value picks in the late rounds.
DJ Dallas.
I think that could be. I think he could be, the 2 or 3 back behind Carson. And I think that's a progressive move and not a regressive move. I do agree that their defense may have gone down a little bit with Clowney leaving, but they picked up some young talent like Darrell Taylor in the draft that could really help them.
This is week 9.
Week 9. Listen, I think
No, hold on. Listen, we saw the Green Bay Packers play the Niners twice last year. We saw them outscore
Levi. Yep.
50-0 in the first half. The Green Bay team is pretty stay the course right now. This Niners team, although it's fluctuated, they'll be rolling here. The Packers are not getting a win. This is not a fun game for the Packers. You can like your team all you want, and you can think there's a chance. You don't get rolled 50-0 in the first half 2 times. Make almost no adjustments for that second game. Shanahan's not an idiot. He's going to change up what he did last year to this year. This game is a lock and loaded W for the Niners.
I don't think so.
Oh, you don't? Shocker.
I have the 49ers actually losing in Levi to the Packers.
No.
Big shocker here. However, I will give you my reasons.
Stay off drugs.
I think the Packers will know what the hell to do. I think last season It was
Thank you,
embarrassing. It was
Zach.
embarrassing. Both games in the first half were, as you said, it was 50-0 in the first halves. However, they did come back in the second half each game and put on some improvement. If they can and if they can build off that improvement and that game plan that they had in the second half against those two teams, and not let Raheem Mostert or run all over us, and somehow stop a couple big runs, I think that game's a lot closer. And I think that the fact that 49ers defense has lost a couple pieces.
They lost a couple pieces when you're playing the Packers, but earlier those pieces are going to do great against these other teams.
And then we'll also say that I will also say that the Packers are moving into their second year with their defensive coordinator.
We'll find out if Matt LaFleur, if it was a one-time wonder or not. When they have Debo, who'll be healthy and back here who can run. George Kittle, no one on the Packers is stopping George Kittle. Tevin Coleman, when healthy, is still good. Raheem Mostert's playing. If Jerick McKinnon's healthy, Jerick McKinnon ran all over y'all when he was in Minnesota. A good offensive line. Look, I appreciate your argument, but I think that it's not. It's one constructed, and it's one that I'm sure I was trying.
That's all I'll say. We shall see.
All right,
I have 49ers losing this game, and I think it's a losing streak for them.
We'll move to week 10 here because I don't think we're going to come to a consensus here.
I don't think we will either, but we will come to a consensus on this game.
When it's 25-0 at halftime, I'll give you a call. 10.
Week 10. This is one where we actually agree. This is 49ers visiting the Saints and getting a big L.
I wouldn't call it a big L. I think it's a close game. These teams met, I think, last year.
That's why I call it a big L. I don't refer to it being a big L in the scoring differential, but in the way that it will be demoralizing. I think that the Saints 49ers game last year was game of the year. But I believe that it will be different this time around. I think that the Saints will have, with Sean Payton, you don't play a team 2 years in a row and not get worked the second year around. I think that Sean Payton will have a game plan of all game plans against the 49ers because they will possibly be meeting them, in the playoffs or in the NFC Championship game. And I think he will try his damnedest to win this game, if not for just playoff seeding.
I think he does his damnedest to win every game.
I think but I'm saying especially for this one, especially against the 49ers, who are becoming more and more popular in the United States culture now because Jimmy G is the young guy with all the young talent.
Because he's handsome. He's attractive.
Porno Jimmy.
He is attractive.
Porno Jimmy. Look, so, I agree with you. This is a tight game. Saints, I think that this is going to be a big Saints year. This is if they're going to do everything in their power to put it together. So this isn't. I think this is a little bit of the hangover for the Niners. And it's a little bit of trying to figure out what do we do this year with some different pieces. And I think that this is probably a close game, probably like a 35-38, 40-37 kind of just great game of the week.
Yeah, I believe so. I agree with you on that. I think it might be game of the year again. These two teams just know how to play against each other and can put up some numbers. Yeah. We'll see how San Francisco's offense flows against New Orleans' run defense, because that's pretty much what stopped them last year was New Orleans' great run defense, and then they just had to air it out all game long, and it showed the Saints DBs as not being as good as they were touted. Especially Lattimore struggled, but I think again it'll be a good shootout, and I think it'll be a demoralizing loss for the 49ers. However, they get to go right into their bye week right after. On my schedule at bye week, I have the 49ers at 7-3.
So what do I have them? I think I have them at 6-4. Yes, I do. I don't have them losing too much after this.
I don't either.
There's only one game in this second half that I think is where I'm really doubtful. And that we'll get to that one.
Yeah.
But it's all dependent on what team shows up for that week.
Yeah.
But I'll give you the next 3 weeks. Just try and move a little quicker. They play the Rams, Bills, Redskins. I have wins here. The only team here that I think really puts up a decent fight is the Bills. I think that defense is good, and I think Josh Allen can kind of air it out with Stephon Diggs to burn a couple, but I just think that this pass rush is going to be all over him.
This is actually where we differ. I actually think Josh Allen is the quarterback to handle this pass rush. I have the Bills actually winning this game. It's
Okay.
a big game. It's a big game just because Buffalo's defense has done some great things over these past year and a half, 2 years. That
Very good defense.
Well coached, and I think that this defense could stack up to that really widespread 49ers offense that they just try to burn you at every corner of the field. And I think the Bills
dogfight.
And I think the Bills are the team to be able to stuff that down. I truly think so. I think that the 49ers will struggle not being able to get their run defense or their run offense going, which will force them to attack Buffalo's pretty good secondary. And then I think on the offensive side of the ball for the Bills, I think that Josh Allen can handle that pass rush better than almost any other quarterback that they face this year. Maybe second to Dak. I think Dak can really move out of the pocket. If he's going to be accurate with the ball, that's another story. And maybe
we'll get to that
as well. But I think the Bills give them a really tough challenge, and I think they edge out the 49ers in San Francisco this year.
Okay. What do you have for the Rams and Redskins for those two games?
So week 12, the 49ers are at the Rams. Not that big of a drive, a couple hours, but I do think the 49ers will get that one. Again,
you about to tell me that the Redskins are going to get a W?
No, I'm going to have 49ers get the W against the Redskins as well. I just don't see the Redskins being very competitive this year. You know, they have a new coach with Ron Rivera, but Ron Rivera
hate that he signed there. I'm so mad.
Well, you know, I think him signing to a team that has the potential to have a very good defense makes sense. I don't see their defense really coming together this season. I think it'll take another season for them to really start growing, especially with more draft picks and a better offense to help them.
I mean, we'll get into their nitty gritty.
Yeah,
in the
but
NFC
I do think the 49ers in San Francisco still with the Redskins visiting, or actually, excuse us, according to.
I guess.
Steiner,
No,
it's
Washington.
Not the Redskins anymore. We are.
We don't. We're waiting for the name.
The Washington Football Club at the moment.
Yeah, that's what we should call them instead of the R-Skins.
I think
that actually sounds way worse than just saying the name.
Pat McAfee. I was watching his show the other day, and he said that the DC FC is a great name for the team. I don't know if it'll fit with American culture and football.
I love it, but
I love the name of it.
It's gonna be 23 years I've known this team by a name. It's gonna be weird watching it change, but
exactly.
We'll get used to. It's a name that's been problematic for a long time, and
it has been problematic, and it deserves to be changed. And if the Redskins really look at it, it is an opportunity for them to make a whole lot of money with a whole lot of new merch and a whole lot of new good press.
Well, that's what Dan Snyder cares about.
That's all he cares about.
Because
in his press release, the first thing he mentioned twice about what he cared about was the sponsors first.
Oh, yeah. No. So this is the game. So I'm going to move us to week 15.
Yes.
This is where
it's special to you.
So I think the Niners will win, but it depends on which Cowboys team shows up.
If we get at the Cowboys.
So if the Cowboys and I'll say I'm a Cowboys fan, so I like to believe they're talented. Yeah, so my life has been which Cowboys show up. Do we get the Cowboys that turn the ball over 7 times, can't score till the halfway through the third, or do we get the Cowboys team that comes out and absolutely locks teams down? So we have new coach. I mean, there's a whole lot of new there. I don't know. I err on the side of what I do know, which is that the Niners are a great team. I don't know what our team will look like this year. There's a lot of questions. I don't think Dak is the guy to beat out these elite defenders. But this game has an asterisk next to it to me because this is one of the games like Seattle where I don't know exactly how it's going to play out.
Yeah.
And so I do have it as a W for the Niners. I have it as an L for us. But this is the one game above all the other ones where I looked and I said, I don't know. Because if the Cowboys from 2 years ago show up, this could easily be a W. If the Cowboys from last year show up, this is an L.
Yeah.
You know, it's just dependent on what team shows up. And if I've learned anything in my life, it means that we're going to go 13-3 this year, #1 offense, and lose in the divisional round. Because we did bad last year.
Against
I don't
who?
know. Probably like the Saints or something.
The bad man. That's who took it from you. The bad man. Okay. I will actually disagree with your prediction. I think the Cowboys actually sneak out a win here.
Oh my God!
It's
I'm so
in
happy.
Dallas with a new head coach, Mike McCarthy, who I am still a fan of as a Packer fan. I still think his coaching is very good, and I think he will be, top 10 coaches this year. I think he really turns this team around. I don't know if they, are going to be a Super Bowl contender. I think they make the playoffs this year.
Sure hope.
I think that they will actually put together a game plan that Shanahan will not see coming. I think Mike McCarthy's offensive style can be bland if you let it be bland. I think having Dak as his quarterback is going to open up a lot more stuff in his West Coast offense style. And I think that will be a really big challenge to this 49ers defense, who, if you remember, if you can get a deep ball on them, the game can be over. And who do the Cowboys have that can catch deep balls? Amari Cooper. And I truly think that their offensive weapons stack up against San Francisco's defensive weapons very well. Zeke punishing them in the middle of the field and possibly breaking out for some big runs will allow Dak to run some play action that will be very successful, because I would say he's one of the best play action quarterbacks in the league. Maybe not stats wise, but the way he rolls out and the way he can get set is one of the coolest things to me about Dak. But I do think that this will be a close game, but I think the Cowboys can edge them out in one of their late game surges.
I sure hope so. So week 16 and 17, I'm going to package it a little bit because I think we covered them pretty extensively the first two times. Yeah. This is at Arizona and then at home against Seattle. I have the Niners winning out these last two games.
I do too.
I actually currently had them winning every game after the bye week to finish 12-4. I think I have them potentially as the #1 seed in the NFC. It's either them or the Saints. Okay. But they win this division. And they have a decent season, and they teach you that Super Bowl drought isn't necessarily real for a team that is competently run and didn't have a one-year wonder like, Atlanta, as much as I like their defense was held. They, had a lot line up for them, and I think that I just reference that one because that's the other Shanahan Super Bowl loss.
I was going to say, you bringing up Shanahan's old wounds.
Shanahan is an adult. He can deal with it.
Moving on to the Rams. We have a week 1 matchup that I feel like you might find interesting.
Oh, they're not going to be the SoFi Stadium team this year. No, I have them losing their opening stadium against the Cowboys.
Wow. All right. I'd be surprised because I don't have them either. I have them. Actually, no. Start that over again. That's actually a big surprise because I have the Rams winning against the Cowboys.
You can go fuck yourself.
I think that the big spectacle of the SoFi Stadium first year will have absolutely no impact because I don't think there'll be fans.
It wouldn't matter if there was.
And I think the Rams can outsmart the Cowboys week 1 just because of McVay. I think that's it.
Whoa. We don't have Jason Garrett anymore. We don't know if we're just going to run the ball 2 times and then try and throw it for a first down.
I don't know. Well, now that Mac McCarthy actually has a running back, you never know what his offense will be.
Oh. I think this comes down to the fact that I like the Rams' talent where they have it, but I think that the spots they don't have are really bad spots. I think that they threw a lot of them, and the Eagles did really similar things. The difference was that the Eagles won their Super Bowl, and so they didn't have some of these hiccups, and also their quarterback is competent.
Yeah, and that actually moves us since we are going to be disagreeing on the week 1.
Perfect segue.
perfect segue. Week 2 at the
At
Eagles.
Philly. They play the two hardest teams in NFC East first. This is dumb.
Well, I wouldn't say the Cowboys are the second hardest team in the NFC East.
No, I said they play the two hardest teams in the NFC East.
Well, yeah, obviously the first one's going to be the Eagles, and the second one's going to be the Redskins.
All right, we're just playing games now.
No, I totally agree. I think that they struggle against the Eagles. I think that the Eagles
they'll pull out some sort of wanky move to win. It's what Carson Wentz does. He's one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. I mean, legitimately, when he's on the field and healthy, Carson Wentz is one of the best talents we've seen in the past probably 10 years. I mean, he's phenomenal.
I would agree. I'd agree. I think that's what actually beats the Rams in this. And I don't think the Eagles have much of a run game, but it wouldn't matter if they did, because how they're going to win is going to be through the air. What'd you say?
Boston Scott and Miles Sanders looked like a decent running back duo at the end of last season. But that's more the NFC East episode. Trying not to deep dive the Eagles right now.
I would say that the Eagles running game is not as good as it was a couple years ago. They've always been like a running by committee team. And that can sometimes backfire if you don't get a good committee that can really bounce off each other. But I think that the Eagles get this dub by just passing it deep, and passing in general. I think the Rams DBs are pretty terrible.
Ramsey can only cover so much.
Yeah.
That's actually a really good segue to week 3, because I think that sums up why they lose in week 3 against Buffalo. Is just that they can't cover people. If they stop a run, then Josh Allen can, get out and throw a deep ball to Stephon Diggs or to Josh Brown. I think that Buffalo and Philly actually, their offenses to me seem kind of reminiscent of one another right now, but in different ways. But I just get a similar vibe.
From the Rams and Buffalo?
No, from Buffalo and Philadelphia.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I think Doug Peterson and McDermott are similar coaches in the fact that they really pride themselves on their defense performing well, but can also have those trick plays on the offense that just tear apart or demoralize a team. Or at least their momentum during a game. So I think that Buffalo does get the dub here in Buffalo. I don't think the Rams have the weapons to beat Buffalo. I think if you're gonna beat Buffalo, you need a strong running game that you could turn into a play action. And I just don't think the Rams have that. I think they're lacking at wide receiver in order to get those deep balls. I know they have Cooper Kupp and
Robert Woods.
So I think they have those two guys to maybe get some passes over the middle, but they're not going deep. You lost that threat with Brandon Cooks going to Houston.
Yeah, but you gained safety knowing that you're not a concussion away.
It's true. It's very true.
I really like Brandon Cooks. I'm sad that he's gotten so many injuries.
I do too. I just think that he's just been beaten like a rag doll. All right, moving on to week 4. Rams.
I think we can package both week 4 and 5 for me are W's to the Rams.
It is, yeah. It's week 4 with the Rams hosting the Giants, and then them traveling all the way to DC to the Washington Football Club.
Yeah, there we go, Washington Football Club. Yeah, I mean, I just think that I honestly kind of think that the Giants and the Redskins are almost similar to one another in the way that I view their talent spread. But
I agree.
The Rams,
I think both of them having new coaches is going to be a learning curve for both of them, and I just don't think they overcome it by week 4 and 5.
Yeah, so I'll say this for all the games here. The Redskins have a chance to actually upset the Rams really good here.
The what? The what have a chance?
The Washington Football Club. This is 23 years of my life I'm trying to undo here. The Ron Rivera's team has a serious chance to actually upset the Rams here. I think that pass rush is lethal. I mean, we'll cover that when we get to the Washington Football Club. I start my R and they're like, no, I can't do it. But I do have the Rams getting a W here. And then week 6, we kind of already covered that they're taking a fat L against
the 49ers. Yeah, we both covered that in the last one.
This is one I'm actually curious with. Week 7, Rams at home against Da Bears.
Yeah, I did a second pass at this one as well. It's the NFC West playing the one team from the NFC North. Each one gets a team. 49ers have the Packers. Rams get the Bears.
Da Bears.
Da Bears.
Can't
I have the Rams
da
winning
Bears.
this game. I don't see the Bears being a very competitive team. Maybe 8-8 this season.
Guys, this kid has let the cheese go to his brain. You are so wrong. Nick Foles is starting. The Bears are kicking some booty this year. That defense got better for no reason. They had Robert Quinn. They are smothering the Rams offense. And Nick Foles is not whatever fill in the blank word you want to say about Mitchell Trubisky, he's going to be competent with the football. They're going to move it. They're going to score. This Bears defense is going to smother Jared Goff. It's going to be an ugly day to be a Rams fan. Da Bears are getting a big old W on the West Coast. And you know what? There's a bear on the California state flag, so it's only proper that Da Bears get the W here.
Wow. That was such an in-depth analysis, including going to the flag.
Got passionate about Da Bears there for no particular reason.
So passionate about a team that you actively don't like.
I don't actively dislike them. I just actively live in the ether with them.
That's true.
They're there. I liked Jay Cutler, man. That man looked tired.
I say my take on this game is that the Rams. I say that the Rams get the win only for the fact that I don't think Foles will be very effective in Chicago. I do think he gets the starting job by week 7. I do think that
by week 1. Week 1.
I don't think that they start Nick Foles week 1. I truly don't. I think that what they'll do, especially with the shortened camp, they'll go with someone who knows the offense.
Yeah, that's not Trubisky though.
It's Trubisky more than Foles, and I think that
I think I understand the offense better than Trubisky.
However, by the time they get to week 7, I do think that Foles is the quarterback for the Chicago Bears, but I don't think he has enough to overcome the Rams defense. I know the Rams defense has taken a lot of hits. Corey Littleton isn't there anymore, and their DBs have been thrown across the league, Marcus Peters and all of them, but I just don't see the Bears winning this game. Traveling across the country to California, NFC North teams surprisingly don't do well in California. I don't know why. Maybe it's the weather, but the NFC North always seems to struggle when going on the West Coast. And I don't think it will be any different here. I think the Bears defense did add those weapons kind of silently. Especially Robert Quinn.
As to why. This defense really didn't need much improvement.
No,
they need an O-line, but that's Bear problems. That's for the NFC North. God, I can't wait to do the NFC North episode. That'll be fun.
I do think that Jared Goff will get some heat this game. I just don't think
300 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 4 picks. Yeah, that sounds about right for Jared Goff.
But I think he would still win it if he had that stat line. I don't think the Bears have very much going on offense that would compete with that.
I think
defense can be as good as you want, but if
you
can't score the ball, unless you're going to go do a Khalil Mack fumble recovery for a touchdown.
Yeah, all 4 of those picks will probably pick sixes, so it's all right.
You never know. I think this is a game to watch for the Rams because it'll be pretty competitive. But I do think the Rams get the dub.
Right, well, we'll move to week 8 then with
week 8.
I think a team fairly equivalent in talent to them, in all honesty.
Wow, that is
when you move across the board, I think that they're at Miami. I think that them and the Dolphins are similar teams in terms of their overall talent. I mean, obviously, when you look at the individual talents, I think that the Rams have more of it. But like I said, there's the vacuum in between that I don't think the Rams have a lot of middle ground talent. They have a lot of kind of okay to bad players, and then these amazing players like Aaron Donald and Dante Fowler, where I think the Dolphins have a lot of middle of the road players with a couple bad and a couple really good. And I have the Rams winning this one in what's probably like a 27, 23, 24 game. Yeah, I think that the Rams win before their bye week on week 9.
Yeah, I will agree with you that they win. I don't agree with you that they are similar teams. I don't. I think Miami, for almost my entire life, has been a joke. and
Are you
they're
telling me 2008?
oh man, their wonder season, um,
Yeah, brother.
where they actually competed against Tom Brady.
Yeah, I think that's one of like the only 2 seasons where Tom Brady doesn't have the division win.
I think that saying that they have similar squads is kind of a spit in the face of the Rams. The Rams have
spit in
some
their face.
great players, and they have one thing that sets them apart from Miami in a huge way,
Yeah, good
and that's
head
who's on the
coach.
sideline. I don't think Miami has a coach that comes close to Sean McVay's talents, and I think Sean McVay single-handedly wins some games for his team.
No doubt. We do not disagree. I am a huge Sean McVay fan. I think that people have gotten intolerant because this team is led on the field by someone who can't read a defense. Like, McVay has done an amazing job. We don't disagree on that. And I have the Rams winning here. I just think that when you look at on-field personnel, these teams feel like they're in the same tier as one another. Maybe difference in one, Rams are probably towards the top of it where Miami's at the bottom, but I am not an optimistic fan for the Rams this year. I think they've lost a lot because they paid everybody king's ransom, and then they all retired or left or cashed in the payday, and now the Rams are stuck with some bad moves.
Yeah. I will agree with that. I think it's a good time for them to go into their bye week. So I have the Rams going at 5-3 into their break. I think this is where their schedule gets very tough, and I think it's where they start losing a whole lot of games.
Yeah. So I mean, I think they come out of the gate with an L, week 10.
Yeah. The fact that they have to play
Seattle
twice during the season, and they're both in the last 7 games of the season, are terrible for the Rams.
Yeah.
The Rams really come out swinging in the first half of the season and then try to maintain that through the second.
Oh, I'm sorry. I said they have a loss. I have them as a win, actually, against Seattle.
Really?
Yeah. So, yes. No, I misread where I had them. No, I have them losing in week 16, the second game. But this game, I think that they pull out a sneaky win coming in refurbished and rejuiced against Seattle.
I actually have it flipped. I have them losing this game against Seattle and then winning in week 16 at Seattle. It just seems that every single time between these two teams, the road team always somehow manages to throw something at the home team that they just don't expect.
Yeah, I'll say if you told me that Seattle won both these games, I'm not surprised. I think I put in here, though, I just feel like the Rams kind of catch Seattle on kind of this streak of hard games, and they get them just a little bit off kilter. I think this also all depends on what Cam Akers is as a running back, but that's I mean, we'll see there. But I mean, I have them losing 4 in a row after this, so
I have them losing 4 in a row after their bye week. But moving on to this week 11, second week after bye, they go to Tampa Bay. Go play Bruce Arians, Tom Brady, Rob Gronkowski, Mike Evans.
This is simple. This pass rush from Tampa is just going to smother Goff.
I don't know if it's their pass rush. I think the Rams have to have a good run, or the Rams have to have a good rushing offense in order to succeed, their game plan wise, and because they have to get Jared Goff out and play action in order for them to succeed. It seems like because he cannot stay in the pocket to deliver a pass long enough, especially against Tampa Bay, which I think their pass rush is good. I don't think it's great. Their run defense is great. And I think them against what used to be the committee behind Gurley is not going to be the best. And I think that the Rams' offense is going to fail to set up in Tampa Bay. And I think Tampa Bay is just going to take advantage of it and just throw some bombs.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think Tampa gets it. I think that Arians and TB come up with a game plan to deal with this team, and and then week 12 we were talking about with the Niners. Niners get a handsome win.
I have the Niners sweeping the Rams this year.
As do I.
I just don't think the teams match up very well.
And then
with what they're good at and what they're bad at.
Yeah, so week 13 at Arizona, I have the Rams taking an L here. I think Kyler Murray gets around, has some fun, and
Yeah.
Just catches the Rams this day. And then this is where I think it sounded like we disagree here, is the Rams at home against New England.
Yeah.
I just think that Bill Belichick knows what to do with Jared Goff. It's somebody who's got a talented arm, but not a talented mind for football. And that just is putting a fly in a Venus flytrap with Bill Belichick.
All right. I will take that. However, I think that it'll turn out differently. I think that the Rams actually upset New England because it always seems like the Rams, even last year, the Rams have one game a season where they just go all out for some reason and they put up 40 on the board when you just don't expect them to.
Well, they have a very physically talented quarterback. The problem is that their quarterback is not mentally talented at a lot of the aspects of on-field, the game of NFL or game of football on field. Like, he can't read defenses. And you're telling me that he's gonna beat out probably the greatest defensive coach and probably the best NFL coach of all time, and Bill Belichick, who just seems to delight in setting up these hard to read defenses for quarterbacks just to walk right into the slaughter. And that just feels like Goff. I mean, I saw Goff with Gurley, a better offense, put up, was it 3 points in the Super Bowl?
Yeah.
So you say now a worse Rams team? I don't buy it.
I just think that Bill Belichick coming to the West Coast has never produced the greatest of results.
Because it's not hoodie weather.
It's not hoodie weather, yeah. I just think that I just have this feeling that the Rams defense will shut down New England's. If they're playing with Cam, I think it's going to be some play action because Josh McDaniels has never been able to truly do some play action.
It'll look more like it did with Tim Tebow.
Yeah. I think he's going to start running some play action, and in order to get play action running, you have to get that you have to get the run offense going. And I think that Aaron Donald just knows when to come play his game.
I wish Donald had a star on his helmet. I dream about it.
Well, you never know.
That's not
with the league these days, and the Cowboys, pockets being very deep, you could get them.
We're out of money, but no. Okay, so I mean, we split that. I hope to God we don't split Week 15 because the Rams are at home against the Jiggity Jets.
Yeah, I have the Jets possibly being one of the worst 5 teams of the.
They're lucky Jacksonville's here, otherwise they would be the worst in my opinion.
I would say that the Giants are going to be in that category as well, but
it'll look better because it's more their defense. But the Jets are bad. We can sum up what happens in the AFC. So the Jets are bad. The Rams still have potential. Jamal Adams, even if he's here, I don't like the Jets defense could get some people back. CJ Mosley, I think, was hurt for a big chunk of last year, but still, you don't got to overread it. Dante Fowler, Aaron Donald will be all over Sam Darnold in that bad offensive line. Jared Goff just has to not be an idiot with the ball, and I think McVay can outcoach Adam Gase.
Yeah. We totally agree on all of that. And it's the Jets coming to the West Coast. They're not a good traveling team as well. So
they're not a good team.
They're just not a good team.
Congrats, you won Super Bowl 3 with Joe Namath.
Still riding high on that one.
I actually feel bad. I've always, as I kind of mentioned, I've always kind of liked the Jets in a weird way. But so Week 16, I do not have them beating Seattle, as I mentioned earlier. This time, Seattle gets the win here. Seattle's looking at the playoffs. The Rams are kind of looking at, well, this has been an interesting season. Can we move on from Jared Goff yet, or torch burn Sean McVay for no particular reason, as happens?
Actually, in Week 16, we differ. I have the Rams beating Seattle.
Okay, so we just have the games flipped.
Yes. I actually have the Rams beating Seattle and Arizona the last two games of the season.
Okay, so I have Arizona splitting with them because I think they won their Week
13.
13 matchup. The Rams lost, and this matchup I think the Rams got. I think McVay kind of sees a little bit, comes up with a better game plan, having seen what the Cardinals did in person. Also, I think that it just feels like a team that at the end of the year the Cardinals will probably need this win to make playoffs. And the Rams and Sean McVay will be like, no, not today.
Yeah, I agree with Arizona in that fact. I think that Arizona is going to try to make late season moves to try to get in the playoffs. I just don't think it'll work, and I think the Rams are a part of that. It's in LA. I think the Arizona always has something for the in-division teams, but I just don't think it'll come out victorious for them in this one. And then going back to Week 16, like I said earlier, just to touch on it, I think that the away team, with the Rams going to Seattle, the away team always has something up their sleeve for the home team, and it always makes for interesting games in this division. And I think this division, outside of the NFC North, is probably the most competitive in division this year. I think that the only other division that really puts up numbers and that can compete with amongst themselves in order to really throw off their own chances maybe of getting into the playoffs is the NFC or AFC North. I think all of these teams can junk up every other team's season with some sneaky victories just because they know the teams by now. But I think the Rams get their last two wins of the season in Week 16 and 17, and then I think they fall short of making the playoffs.
Yeah, see, so we have a big difference here because your final record for them is 9-7. I have them at 6-10. So I don't even have them near the playoffs, and I know a lot of people are going to point to, well, last year they had 9-7 record and all of this and whatnot. I think this team just makes a lot of serious step backs this year. I think that more teams just have more film on Goff, and his natural talent with his arm is not going to save them.
Fair enough.
So moving on, I think we covered the Rams pretty good there.
Yeah.
I'm going to quotate this hometown team. I say hometown team because we both grew up around Seattle. I a little bit closer, literally across the water. So I've watched. Yeah, you're not that far, but the good old Seabirds who weren't an NFL team actually till 2011. Fun fact. At least you wouldn't know from the fans. Nah,
What are you talking about? That wondrous run in 2005?
No, this is I mean, for all the bloated fan base that existed, they're pretty much gone now. They're off rooting for Tampa Bay. It's fun to jab. No, but this is a team that I think over the last 10 years has been one of the better teams in the NFL. They won a Super Bowl, lost one, but appeared back to back. They have one of the best quarterbacks. So we'll get knee deep into their schedule here. I have them pulling out Week 1 against the other Birds, win against the Falcons.
I disagree. I think it'll be a Falcons upset.
Where on earth are you getting that? Because nobody on the Falcons defense is stopping Seattle. The Falcons offense is great, but Matt Ryan, I'm sure, will throw a pick because he's the Stafford of the South, and Russell Wilson can run around all day, throw to DK, Will Disley in the red zone, get Tyler Lockett deep. Chris Carson should be back healthy. DJ Dallas is my favorite running back via name.
Via name?
His name is awesome.
Just because you're a Cowboys fan.
No, I just know that his name's DJ, and the way it's spelled, D-E-E-J. Oh, I love it.
For this portion of the show, we're actually going to bring on my good friend and avid Seahawks fan, Zach, to give his definitely biased
wonderful
opinion.
years as a Seahawk fan.
This man has a sad existence as a Seahawks fan.
My first jersey was a True Font jersey.
Ooh, throwing it back.
Yeah. I have some buddies that their first NFL jersey were Sherman jerseys, so my existence has been. That's why I slap these fans. No, my stepdad is a huge Hawks fan. He's got all the old stuff. I mean, there have been fans. I remember going to games when I was little with them with that old beautiful jersey, that whatever that navy shiny blue was.
Yeah.
It's weird that both of us are from here, but I'm not from Washington. I just grew up in Washington, but neither one of us are Seahawk fans. Yet we live an hour at most away from Well, that's not counting traffic. If it's traffic, it's 4 hours to you.
But we just didn't drink the Kool-Aid, man. Didn't want to be part of the Cool Kids Club here.
I wish. I want a Super Bowl. It's awful.
Anyway, so getting back to the analysis, so he's going to join us for each game, and he's going to give us his analysis on each game, if it's going to be a win or loss. But for my take at least, I'm giving Seattle the loss against the Falcons. I think for one reason and one reason only, Dan Quinn. And I'll give you that reason because Dan Quinn always has something up his sleeves when he plays the Seahawks.
Yeah, it's usually an injured defender.
That's a good comeback. I just think that this game will be a lot closer than people think. I think Seahawks sputter at the beginning of the season. They always do. They always have one team that always can like pick them at their side and get rid of and make it a close game. And I think that's the Falcons. I think the Falcons have an okay offense, and I say that because they have Julio Jones and Matt Ryan.
It's a phenomenal offense.
But
it's a bad defense.
I think this is one that the Falcons can squeak by. What do you think, Zach?
I think the Seahawks win this one.
Yeah.
I think the Seahawks secondary will be improved just enough to hold off a late game surge from Matt Ryan. I think with Dunbar being added and with a full year with who's the guy they got from Detroit?
Oh, Diggs.
Diggs. I think Diggs and
Dunbar at some point will rob Matt Ryan. So.
Yeah. So I think it'll be close, but I think Carl's right. Seahawks come out pretty slow, but I think they pull it out in normal Seahawks fashion.
Atlanta 28-3 at the half, and then. Whew.
Yeah, pretty much.
All right, Seattle at home against New England. I have this as again a W.
I have it as a W as well. I think that Seattle's team just matches up well with New England's. And New England always has a tough time coming out here on the West Coast. I think it'll be especially tougher without Brady, just because Brady just seemed when they came out here to play the Seahawks that he's kind of had the Seahawks numbers. That is excluding the Legion of Boom years where he just got tore up. But I do
think of one game where that didn't matter.
Ooh, burn. The worst loss in Super Bowl history.
At least they made it. That's not.
But I do think that Seattle sneaks out the dub here. I just think they have a better overall team. They don't have a better defense than New England. I still think New England holds that good defense. But I think that Seattle can, especially Russell Wilson, can tear apart that pretty easily. What do you think, Sam?
Yeah, I mean, I don't totally agree with the avenue in which you get there, but I do agree Russell Wilson's one of the best quarterbacks. I think he's actually like the third best quarterback in the NFL.
I think he's number 2.
That's a whole. Yeah, we can get into that at a later date, but
we shall see this year. We'll see this year.
No, I mean he's phenomenal, and it doesn't matter what kind of defense you bring to him, he's able to score. We saw that with Carolina when they went 15-1, and they brought that. We've seen with the Packers and the Cowboys and Philadelphia and New England. Like we've seen just over and over him routinely tear apart good teams. I actually think this is their best receiving core they've had in a long time. I think that DK Metcalf is Dez Bryant, and I think that Tyler Lockett is not as good as Deshaun Jackson, but a very Deshaun Jackson type. So I think you have two very capable receivers here. I really like the addition of Philip Dorsett to this team. I think that he's interesting. He's not somebody that you're going to go to every game, but the games like this, he's a Swiss Army knife that they can a bubble screen to, and he'll take it off for 10, 15 yards. Good. I like this offense a lot. I think that this is probably going to be the best offense they've had since Marshawn Lynch left in kind of the mid-teens of whatever this last decade have been. I don't know what to call it.
I don't think so. I think their offense right after Marshawn left was pretty good. But like 2016, I think they are still a really competitive team. But I do think this is their best team in about 3 years. 2017 was kind of a falling off. They were going down. They were regressing.
Yeah, they still made the playoffs.
And I think they've been in somewhat of a regression since 2017. And then last year they added some weapons that they truly needed, which was DK really showing up in some games where they needed a wide receiver to go long and really get those long chunk plays. DK was amazing. I thought that Chris Carson actually showed out this season. I thought this was his first season that I thought he was actually impressive. I don't like their injury chances.
Oh God.
What's the laugh for?
You're just Chris Carson's been a good running back since he came into the league. Other than injuries, he's been an incredibly good running back.
Like 5 yards a carry.
But what season has he been more impactful?
Every season that he's
last
played.
Season, he was the most impactful that he has ever been.
He actually brought life to this running game after Lynch.
Yeah, I think that's what I'm saying though. I think he's a good running back. I think last year was his best year running, like in the league. I think he's getting better. I just hope that his ACLs, feel the same way.
Well, his hip is what the big problem is.
I think if I can get in here for a second.
Oh yeah.
I think going off Philip Dorsett, the addition, I think they're going to use him exactly like they used Percy Harvin in the season. And they're just going to do that every once in a while because I think they have some other pass catchers like, of course, DK and the others that are going to be more in tune with their offense, but he'll be a weapon that they can just throw at a team every once in a while. As far as this game versus the against New England, I think they've handled Cam Newton well every single time they've played him. And I don't think Cam is going to bring some miraculous new arsenal to his offense. And I think it'll just be a normal, easy Seattle win where they kind of dominate with the run game a little bit. And
even with the New England defense being so good?
Yeah, because they'll just run it more. I mean, their secondary is nuts at New England or whatever.
Yeah.
But I think they'll just control the tempo of the game, not let Cam, break out of the pocket. I think they'll play some contained defense with their line because I think Seattle's defensive line is probably their weakest on their whole team.
Really? Their offensive line?
They've signed offensive linemen a whole bunch. I mean, they have 15 offensive linemen to try to figure out which group is going to be the best. So
it's been improving. It feels like from what it once. I mean, since Max Unger left, it feels like it's each year kind of different, but it gets the job done, and I mean that's all that matters.
At this point, they're not trying to convert defensive linemen.
Yeah, or tight ends.
Yeah.
No, yeah.
Yeah.
I think we all in agreement here that it'll be a Seattle dub, in one way, form, or fashion. I just think that there's too many weapons on Seattle for New England to deal with, offensive and defensively.
So week 3, this is where I actually have them getting their first L.
First L against your boys?
Yeah. So yeah, I do. I think that the Cowboys this season have a lot of talent around them. I think that there's a lot here, and if Mike McCarthy can actually, I think that the big problem with the Cowboys last year was a lot of the coaching that you just kind of saw the team give up, not really understand what it was doing, have vision. I think that that's gone. I think that Seattle, although it's a very good team, I think that they have regressed a little bit. I think there's going to be a lot more of Russell Wilson save play this year. You can shake your head at it. I see it. Like the defensive line in particular is the offense is very good. My question is where the Seattle defense really plays at. And I think that they're not going to get to Dak with that O-line. I think Zeke can run it. I think they can throw it to Cooper, Michael Gallup. And it'll be a healthy Cooper for the first 5 weeks of the season. So, I mean, there's a big problem there. I think that the Cowboys just have too many weapons to be able to use here for Seattle to win this one. That being said, this is Seattle, and it's the hardest team, in my opinion, to even predict because they could be losing 3 quarters 40-0, and then somehow the end score is in overtime 40-40. So, I mean, I think that's the trouble with all of this is that Russell Wilson is a magician, and I hate saying that because I'm not a huge fan of the man, but he's a magician. Number 3 gets it done, and that's at the end of the day all that matters.
I actually have this as their first big game of the season. I don't have it as New England because I think New England's going to be a story all year long just because of their quarterback situation. But I do think that this is their big first game, and it's only for the fact that you brought up the good point of their run defense against Zeke will be the true test of this game. Like Zach said, one of the worst things on the team is their defensive line, just because it's been slowly like Michael Bennett and stuff just going to like 3 different teams now. It's just been disbanding since 2015, 2016. But I think that if Zeke can get a roll against Seattle, then it'll be a totally different game than if he doesn't. I think if the Seahawks can somehow shut down Zeke, then all the Cowboys have is Dak Prescott with Amari Cooper and a possibly, blowout CeeDee Lamb. And I think Seattle can cover that. I think Seattle's still competent in their DBs. I don't think their DBs are bad. I just think that if they can somehow shut down Zeke, then they can change this game entirely. And always with the Seattle and Cowboys, it's going to be a close game. So this is kind of a toss-up for me. I just gave Seattle the win just because I feel like Cowboys with a new coach, week 3, may not be there, especially with the shortened offseason. So I think that the experience of Seattle with Pete Carroll and Russell really knowing how to pull out games in Seattle will be the factor.
Yeah, I think you bring up a good point in the fact that McCarthy doesn't really have a preseason to get the Cowboys fully going. So I think the first 4 games of the season is going to be like a preseason for the Cowboys. There's going to be some good, there's going to be some bad. But Seattle, with Pete Carroll being there for years, is going to do the Seattle thing. I mean, everyone knows what they do. It's going to be the same thing. I do think as far as Seattle's defensive line, they may be really weak on pass rush, but they do have a couple of run stoppers in Jerron Reed and Poona Ford, which is a guy they got out of Texas a couple of years ago. So I think there is a chance that they could slow down Zeke a little bit, and I think that's their way to a win. And I think they just barely win against the Cowboys.
I will say, with the shortened offseason, I think Seattle is the team with the most advantage of any team in the NFL coming in, because I really don't feel like their core, especially on offense, I think there's a lot of teams that are going to be trying to adapt to something new with new receivers or new coaches. Seattle's offensive core is pretty much coming back intact, and I think that's a huge advantage in these especially like first 6 to honestly, this season's going to be about who on the field, and this is a team that I think is equipped the first half of the season to really take advantage of that.
Yeah, I think that Seattle has not lost any significant members of their offensive group. I think they only added possible really significant members with Greg Olsen and Philip Dorsett. I know Greg Olsen probably has 1 to 2 years left on him, and he just signed a contract with Fox to be their new broadcaster.
Really?
Yeah, he did.
I
He just signed a deal. Just signed a deal yesterday, I believe. Fox to be their new commentator. And then Philip Dorsett, that speedy little guy out of the back, that can be a speedy guy out of the backfield, can really run some reverse plays with Wilson and Metcalf. I think their offense just got better. It didn't regress at all. And then the additions of Greg Olsen and Philip Dorsett, and then in the draft they did add only 1 offensive lineman, which kind of worries me. I still think that offensive line needs work. But, I think they added some pretty good weapons, including your boy DJ Dallas, which could be, maybe an Aaron Jones type situation where nobody gave him some credit until he came into the league.
Aaron Jones and Chris Carson are about the same in talent.
Yeah. Don't you dare say that. They are two different styles of running back.
Yeah, but in talent they're the same. Okay, but so let's. Week 4 and 5, they at Miami. God, I wish I could go to that game because Miami sounds beautiful. And then they're at home against the Vikings. I have this as a win against Miami and a loss against the Vikings.
Yeah, I think that it's going to be an easier win against Miami. Again, though, Seattle has to travel the longest distance. They'll have to travel all season, which is Miami.
I think that the travel thing can be a little overhyped sometimes for some of these teams. I mean, if you're a team that's not used to traveling, but Seattle has to travel every year all the time. They do it on a nice jet, I'm sure. Like travel doesn't seem to face. And if you got to travel anywhere, it's not like they're traveling to Buffalo. They're going to Miami, which is beautiful.
That's the second part of my point. it is traveling to Miami. It's the longest distance they'll travel all season in the regular season. However, Seattle's one of the best road teams of the past decade. Seattle can win on the road almost like anybody else. I don't know what it is, but they always have some sort of knack to be able to beat somebody on their home turf.
Well, it's because they focus heavily on a run game.
Yeah. Well, they can slow their game down to their own pace, and that they can really take away some home field advantage that's been given. And there's no home field advantage in Miami ever, except for maybe the distance. And so I agree with you that that's going to be a win. Zach, I'm sure you agree.
Yeah.
Moving on to Minnesota is where we get a little bit chippy. You say there's a lot. They take their second loss against Minnesota?
Yeah.
I don't think so. I think this game is too big for Seattle to lose, in the sense that Kirk Cousins came in last year and everybody had their hopes of him, shining in the big game finally. And then last year really tanking it and taking this the 37-30 loss. I think is really going to have an impact on this game going forward, because Kirk Cousins is going to remember that. And this game that they have coming up, I believe, is a prime time game. Yes. So the game this season against the Vikings, Week 5, is going to be a Sunday night game. So Kirk Cousins in prime time again, I think he loses. I think Kirk Cousins is cursed by his prime time. And I think Russell Wilson will do exactly what he did last year and just pull out a deep bomb to just throw them off every quarter and get the dub. What do you think, Zach?
I think this is where Seattle gets their first loss. I was at that Minnesota game, last year?
It was December of last year.
Yeah. And Kirk Cousins did well. And I think this game is the first game to where the crowd not being there is the biggest deal.
That's a good point.
Seattle gets really up for a night game, especially a primetime game. And if there's no fans there, I think Kirk Cousins is going to have no issues calling plays or running that offense. And if it weren't for a couple of fluke turnovers in that game, Minnesota was looking like the better team last year. And so I think they'll pull this one out.
Yeah, I think the big question is whether or not if Dalvin Cook is playing, this team is moving. If it's Alexander Mattison as the starter, there's some questions I have there. But Adam Thielen's coming back from injury.
Madison has just as good of yards per run though.
Yeah, but Dalvin Cook is so phenomenally better than and Madison's a good running back. It's actually, this backfield is reminiscent to me of Dallas's, where Tony Pollard is a competent runner, a good runner, that if Zeke's not there, you have faith in this runner. But Dalvin Cook is one of the best pass catching backs. He just knows how to break out tackle and stuff. And Thielen's a great receiver. I forget the name of the kid they drafted in Minnesota, is a nice looking receiver. But I think Zach put it on the head about how the game's going to go.
Did Minnesota get Justin Jefferson?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Justin Jefferson put on a show at LSU. So yeah, that is a something.
It's a nice replacement for Diggs.
Yeah, I would say I think he's a great replacement for Diggs. Somebody hopefully with a little less attitude when they don't get the ball. But
so I'll just say, just moving back to Seattle.
Yeah, moving back to Seattle, I still think this is a win. I do like Zach's analysis of the crowd not being there can actually help Kirk Cousins. Because last year, watching that game, you can tell that he just could not hear a lot. And it was really affecting him and his offense. So I do think that it'll be a lot closer than I may have assumed at the beginning. But it was 37-30 last year, so it can be a very close game. Yeah. So then, and I think it's a good win going into their bye week in Week 6.
So I think this is a terrible spot for a bye week coming with this season in particular.
Because last week it was a good time to get a bye week.
I think if you're a team that has a lot of new players, an early bye week wouldn't be bad. But I think for a team like Seattle, this is. I think early bye weeks just in any season aren't great. And I think that Seattle, I think that this is a tough schedule at parts, especially coming right out of the bye week for them. This is not a fun bye week spot, but I mean, it's the NFL. The bye week, bye weeks can matter, but these are teams that know what they're doing. And I think that they're coming out with an L against Arizona here. I think I have them splitting. I do have them splitting here. Yeah. I think that the Cardinals are more in tune with DeAndre Hopkins, and I just think that that's where this comes down to a big problem is who on Seattle is actually going to be able to shut down DeAndre Hopkins.
Exactly. Yeah. I think that's a good analysis. I do think that I do agree with you wholeheartedly that they split the series this year. I do think that Seattle loses this game out of the bye week. Arizona is coming off, in my opinion, getting on to their schedule next. I have them losing to the Cowboys in Dallas. So I think them coming back to Arizona against a Seattle team that always has something for them will be a great game. But last year, Cliff Kingsbury had some success against the Seahawks, especially with their play action and getting the defense to really move. And I think this year with Kyler Murray really knowing the offense a little bit better and being able to make audibles at the line will definitely help, especially if they can call to their running back, which I think is a very competent running back in Kenyon Drake. I think Kenyon Drake got a lot of bad rap in Miami and then has showed out completely in Arizona that he can be a number one back for a team, especially one that's as versatile with their running back as Arizona is with the pass catching and all that. And Arizona went 1-1 against the Seahawks last year, where Seattle won 27-10 in Arizona, and then Arizona came back to win in Seattle 27-13 later on in the season.
And Kenyon Drake killed us in that game.
Exactly. So I think if they can get Kenyon Drake going in this game, if they can throw it to Hopkins and get some really deep balls going, I think it'll be a great game. But I think Arizona edges Seattle out. What do you think, Zach?
So I think this is a really good spot for a bye because Arizona does give Seattle some issues, and I think 2 weeks to prepare for Cliff Kingsbury's offense is perfect. And I think Seattle will get right back on track after the loss to Minnesota and win this game similar to the way they won in Arizona last year. I don't think it'll be that much of an issue. I think Kenyon Drake caught them off guard because I believe that was his first or second game after the trade.
Yeah.
So they didn't really prepare. I don't think they prepared for what kind of runner he was.
Yeah.
So I think they'll be prepared with 2 weeks, and I think Seattle will handle them.
I think that's a good analysis. With the bye week, getting ready for Cliff Kingsbury. I do think though that that's good analysis. I'm gonna have to change my opinion on that one. What game it is, because again in the NFC North, the away team always has something for the home team. And Seattle going to Arizona with 2 weeks to prepare may give them a tough time. I do think though, I still believe that Arizona will get the first win just because it's their first time playing Hopkins, and kind of an Arizona offense that's coming into full view of what their potential could be with Kyler Murray. I still think Arizona gets the win, but with that analysis, I think it'll be very, very close. I don't think it'll be the blowouts like they had last year with the 27-10 and 27-13. I think it'll be a lot closer, but I do think Arizona edges them out. Mm-hmm. All right, moving on to week 8. This is my another one where I'm saying that I think that they'll split Seattle versus the 49ers in Seattle. This one I actually have the home team winning again. I think Seattle edges out the 49ers. I think that loss to end the season last year by a literal inch will give them just as much motivation to win in Seattle. Hopefully there's fans at this point. This is going to be later December, later November. So, hopefully fans can maybe get in there. But I think Seattle edges them out. What do you
Yes,
think,
I mean, we talked about this a bit with like the Niners. I mean, I have them winning this one, splitting it. I think Zach, what do you
well, you
kind
have
of
the
with?
Niners or the Seattle winning?
This is the one where I have Seattle winning this game.
Okay.
Yeah, I think Seattle will take this one. I think it'll be both their games will be their closest games of the season. I think on both sides, both everyone that 49ers play and both everyone that Seattle plays, just because they know each other so well, and Russell Wilson will pull out something at the end of the game to make. Even though I think the 49ers will look like they're going to win the game the whole entire time, Russell Wilson will do something at the end to make it close, and I think Seattle will pull out this one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think Russell Wilson's the only quarterback in the division that will successfully get away from the 49ers pass rush. I think Kyler Murray is the most agile out of all four, but I think his lack of experience with the 49ers and their defensive sets will make him a little bit easier of a target. I think Russell Wilson still can evade the 49ers the best. So I think he will make the game very close, probably in the second half, as he does.
Okay, so moving to week 9 and 10, at Buffalo and at the Rams, I have these both as losses for Seattle. I think that Buffalo's team is just a more complete team, and I think that they're able to kind of move the ball a little bit more than Seattle is able to. I don't think there'll be fans at any of these games this season, really, and I think that Buffalo can be, because of like the cold and stuff, it can be a little bit harder to play in. Although I don't think that's a huge deal, but I just think Buffalo. I think this is the season that Buffalo wants to prove it. So that, and then I know in the Rams we covered this. I just think that the Rams kind of get a sneaky win here, coming off their bye week, a little rejuiced and ready to go. But I actually have Seattle splitting with all three of their division rivals this year. But as I mentioned with the Rams, if Seattle beat them 2 times, I would not be surprised.
Yeah, I think the Rams are the only team that Seattle sweeps in the division. I think they split against the other teams.
Yeah.
It's a tough one. So I think I'll give Seattle the game still in week 9 against Buffalo. I see them coming out ahead. I think Russell Wilson playing in the cold is not that big of a factor. He goes to Philadelphia, he wins. He goes to Green Bay, he puts up a tough game in the snow and in the cold. And I don't think the weather affects him as much as other quarterbacks, just because he plays in the Pacific Northwest. He can play in the snow. But I do think Seattle sneaks out a win. I don't think it's close, or I don't think it's a blowout in any way. I think Buffalo's defense gives them a really tough go at it, and may actually sneak out a win against Seattle. This is one of my games to watch for them, but I do think Seattle edges one out. And then moving into week 10, I think at the Rams, I think Seattle's just too powerful of a team to allow the Rams to really bully them. Just based team to team, I think Seattle has the better squad at the moment, defense and offensively. The one thing that saves the one thing that saves LA is their defense, and that they can like put a stop to teams. But I just don't think that happens against Russell Wilson and the Seahawks, just because every single year Russell gets better at playing the Rams and McVay. I have Seattle splitting the series with the Rams. I just think Seattle gets the win here on the road.
So I think with these 2 games, I think at Buffalo, I think it's a score like 13-7 with Seattle winning. I think that game will be in the cold, running the ball, and I think Seattle has the better running backs.
For sure.
Yeah, and so I think they'll be able to pull it off, just because they'll be able to hold the ball a lot longer than, and I don't think Allen is ready at the very end of the game. You kind of saw how he blundered the playoff game a little bit away last year. I don't think he has that late game heroic thing down yet like Russell does.
No one has it down like Russell does.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that'll be a really close game. I could also see Buffalo winning that game with that with that low score and everything like that. And then Seattle at the Rams, I think they handle the Rams easily. I don't think I think over the years, Seattle and Wilson have learned how to deal with Aaron Donald a little bit better. And so I think that's the only problem that they need to face on their defense. I think everywhere else that Seattle's offense can win the matchups there.
Yeah, I just don't. There's nobody on the defensive line for the Rams to really give Seattle trouble except for Aaron Donald. That's really all they have now. I think the Rams just don't have enough to deal with Seattle. Period. I think they'll edge one out later in the season just because those late games are just always just a basket of points.
Yeah, so I have Seattle losing this one and then winning that Week 16. But here for the next 6 games, I have Seattle winning 6 in a row.
Really? So
I have Seattle going on an absolute high tear. So Week 11 against Arizona, they win this one. Then they play at Philadelphia. I think they get a win over the Eagles. At home against the Giants and then the Jets. I think pretty obvious why they beat those teams. This is the game that's the biggest problem for them, I think, is at the Redskins with the pass rush that Ron Rivera is going to be coaching. Ron Rivera's done a decent job, I think, of playing defense against Russell Wilson in the past a couple times they've met, although Wilson still pulled out some of those wins. But I think that the Redskins team's not good enough to beat Seattle here, and then they play the Rams in the second game. That could easily be a sweep. But I just think that Seattle, the only team here that really I think is comparable to Seattle in talent is the Philadelphia Eagles. And I don't think that Philly is really going to be able to pull out that win here. Otherwise, I mean, Giants, Jets are I feel like, I don't want to say freebies, but Seattle's not losing those games.
Yeah, I agree with you for the Arizona game. I think Seattle comes out with the win at home against Arizona. I think they'll figure it out. Cliff Kingsbury, in the from the 3 weeks. I think they'll figure it out. Cliff Kingsbury by the game 3 weeks before that, 3 or 4 weeks before that. And I think though that Week 12 against the Eagles at the Eagles, I think will be another loss for Seattle. I think the Eagles defense is always good. They're rarely they haven't really been great since their Super Bowl season. I think they're good defense, solid defense that always gives Russell Wilson some pain. Last year they eked out a win because of DK Metcalf. Russell Wilson struggled against the Eagles last year, only throwing for 200 yards, 1 touchdown, and 1 interception. Last year, Seattle played Philadelphia in the wild card and kind of struggled. And if it weren't for the help from DK, I think it would have been a totally different game.
I mean, that was a rolling Eagles team. That Eagles team was on a hot streak there at the end with Cowboys collapse and Eagles kind of rolling it. Seattle also didn't have a running back. They signed Marshawn Lynch and who else there to basically relive the 2014 team. I think this is a much better Seattle team this year because they'll have people back, and I think that Philadelphia is going to be missing. I don't remember if Alshon Jeffrey was playing at that time. I don't think he was, but I mean, I just think Seattle gets a roll here, and they shoot their shot and get the 6 in a row.
Yeah,
But I mean, like I said, Philly's the only team in this stretch that I seriously would consider being able to beat Seattle. Like the Giants and the Jets and the Redskins aren't getting. I don't think the Rams are getting them twice if they get them at all. Like I said, I could concede that the Rams might get swept.
Yeah, I think here in Week 12 is where Seattle gets their I think it's their only out of division loss that I have them besides the Falcons for the season. Zach, what do you think about the Eagles game?
I think last year I was never really that worried about them playing the Eagles. I think Seattle just kind of did their thing against them, but one of the games Carson Wentz didn't play. And so I think they lose to the Eagles. And then I do think the next 3 games, Giants, Jets, Redskins, Seattle loses one of them. They always lose a stupid game that they shouldn't lose every single year, and kind of gets them in trouble. And I just don't think they have enough this year to be able to lose that game and keep pace with San Francisco like they did last year. So I don't know which one of those they're going to lose to.
It's going to be the Giants or the Skins. The only thing I would say is it's probably, if it's going to be a dumb team that you're going to lose to, it'll probably be the Skins, just given that insane pass rush that they formed and Ron Rivera having played Seattle a good amount of times. Where Joe Judge, we don't know what Joe Judge could end up being. Pat Shurmur 2.0. He could end up being, a bad head coach, but we know Ron Rivera can lead a football team.
Yeah, and also, Rivera has always played the Seahawks really close. It's always one of those 13-7 type games when they play, and Seattle has to throw. I remember a deep ball to Curse one of the years to win it at the very end against Rivera. So I think he knows how to kind of control tempo just like Pete Carroll does, and I think that might be one that they lose as well.
Yeah, I think if they're going to lose any of the games in that 3-week stretch for week 13, 14, and 15 against the Giants, Jets, and Reds, Washington Football Club, I think it'll be against the unnamed Washington team. I think, like Zach said, I think he gives a good analysis on Ron Rivera. Ron Rivera is a clock manager, and he knows how to eke out games if he can. And I do agree with that sentiment that the Seattle always seems to lose a game that you just don't see coming. They just somehow fall apart because maybe they think they're going to win by a whole lot or what. But I think that's a good analysis that it might be the Redskins.
Yeah, like last year it was that Arizona game where they got blown out.
Yeah,
like how does that happen?
In Seattle as well. In Seattle.
Yeah. I think Seattle has always seemed to struggle. At least Russell Wilson Seahawks have seemed to struggle with the Cardinals. But I also think that the Cardinals have had a very decent team a lot of the years. Like, they just get slept on. Like when they went 10-6 and missed the playoffs. Like, that team with Bruce Arians wasn't as bad as people thought. It was just injuries prolonged it. But so to finish it out, Seattle, I have them losing to the Niners to finish the season at 10-6 is where I have them. If you want to move them to 11-5, but I think that they're really around this kind of win. I think that there's a world where they actually get swept by the Cardinals, and a world where they don't, a world where they sweep the Rams. I think there's a couple games in here that you can kind of move around. I feel like it depends on what the defense looks like for Seattle. I think I have a very good idea of what the offense will be. It will be, I think, one of their best ones. I think this will probably be Russell Wilson's best passing year with the weapons he has. I think this defense is just kind of an interesting look at what it is and what it will be. Because I do like this secondary a lot. I think Shaquille Griffin made a lot of positive steps. And Quandre Diggs is a huge big game person that can just shut people down. So just put that in another cap of Detroit trading a player too early.
I would disagree with one of the games. I think that Seattle doesn't get swept or Seattle doesn't sweep the Rams. I think it's a definite possibility that they can.
Yeah, it can happen.
It can happen just because, like I said, this is one of the most volatile divisions in football, where literally any of the teams in the division can upset any of the other teams in the division at any given moment. Even San Francisco. I think San Francisco's susceptible to it just as much as Seattle is, where they can have there's a terrible game with a coach that sees them twice a year. I do think that Seattle has a chance of losing, so I have them losing against the Rams just because I feel like the Rams will always eke out a win against Seattle in some form or fashion. I do think that Seattle then goes on and loses Week 17 at the 49ers. But again, that one could be very close, like the one at the end of the last season, and that could determine playoff seedings. So it's going to be very hard fought. And I think whoever in that game has the best running game will win.
Yeah, I think Seattle beats the Rams again because I think that's the only team that they sweep in the division. And they're going to lose to the 49ers in that last game. 49ers are going to want to go for that top seed, which is probably going to be on the line, and they're going to pull out the win. I think Seattle, could make some noise in the playoffs, but I think San Fran has got this division. this year.
Yeah, I think that overall, looking at a playoff team, I think 49ers are better than Seattle as a playoff team, just because as you get into the playoffs, you're really going to need to really rely on your defense to help out with those teams that are really, gangbusters in the first half. And Seattle's defense just isn't as good as it has been in the past couple of years. It is good, but maybe not as good as it has been in maybe like 4 years ago.
So, question for you guys. If Seattle adds Antonio Brown, does their record change for you guys at all?
Yes.
No?
Yes. I think with the addition of Antonio Brown, I think they could possibly I think it helps their chances to sweep the Rams, because all you have to do is to get by the Rams is toss it deep. They have Jalen Ramsey over the top. That's about it. And if they could get Antonio Brown, which he has been working out with Russell Wilson, I think they could. He could really factor into the Falcons game, just because he's an experienced wide receiver who just knows his stuff, and maybe doesn't need a lot of coaching. So he could be a factor in that. What I have is a loss, and then I think his experience overall will really help Russell in those games where he's getting attacked in the pocket. Especially against San Francisco. If he has an out like Antonio Brown, I think that really changes the aspect of the game.
Yeah, the one thing Seattle I feel like needs is a wide receiver that gets open right away. And I think that's what Antonio Brown will add if he does sign with Seattle. But I think Pete Carroll is too stubborn to change his offense to go more towards the passing game. And so to be honest, I don't think it'll change that much. I mean, I think he'll get some key catches and third downs and stuff like that, but I think it doesn't change their offensive mindset at all.
So I'll say this about Antonio Brown is there is another team that has been severely talking about it, and that's the Baltimore Ravens. And if you're going to tell me he has the option to go play, who needs another receiver is Baltimore. Who do they play twice a year is Pittsburgh. He gets this opportunity to come back and play for the Seahawks. And I don't think Antonio Brown comes back to the league. I think he's done. Yeah. He's not these internal. It's not like players want him, but coaches and organizations do not. I think if you're saying that Seattle's bringing in a free agent, if you told me he was on offense, I'm really not that much convinced that this team's not going to do about what it's going to do. If it's on defense, it's a different story. That's really what I feel. I feel like this offense currently, even you talk about quick separation. I think that as DK improves, you see somebody like Dez Bryant who can maybe not outspeed somebody, but he can sure as heck out-wrestle somebody for a ball. And I mean, I remember for years watching this. He literally reminds me of Dez Bryant to a T with higher upside. His upside is more than what Dez had.
I truly believe I think Dez had one of the highest upsides of any wide receiver. I just think that his quarterback failed him multiple occasions.
All right, well, that's unneeded, but... No, yeah, so then this moves to the last team, and I think the biggest question mark of this division is the Arizona Cardinals. Yeah. They made huge offseason moves with DeAndre Hopkins, getting rid of David Johnson. They had a really good draft, actually. I really liked the addition of Isaiah Simmons. I think that the Lions at 3 should have drafted Isaiah Simmons over Jeff Okudah.
Definitely agree.
They kept Chandler Jones. This team is poised to be a good. However, this team screams Cleveland Browns of last year to me. They make these sexy moves. They make these flashy plays. But there's a chance that Kyler Murray doesn't make this giant jump. There's a chance that DeAndre Hopkins is potentially getting to the point where he's no longer this absolute dominant receiver. There's a chance that Kenyon Drake is not as good. There's a real chance that Kenyon Drake isn't actually this great running back, that he's a running back who flashes games and then doesn't flash games.
Yeah.
And, Cliff Kingsbury might not be a great hit. There's a lot of things. This O-line is still questionable. I have them winning 9-7. I think that this is a team that I have projected to do better. I think Kyler Murray makes a step. I don't think it's the same step like Lamar made from his year 1 to his year 2, but I think he improves. But I do have a lot of question marks with this team. I think that this secondary has gotten older, and where it has Budda Baker and Patrick Peterson. Outside of that, really, I don't think there's a lot of good playmakers here. They have an amazing linebacker.
For being honest, though, still the best DB core out of the entire division.
Yeah, we disagree on that fervently. But they have really good linebackers. Isaiah Simmons can play pretty much the whole field, which was actually the problem with him to people is they didn't know where to play him, which I think it's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Like, this team has question marks to me, but it also has parts like Larry Fitzgerald is still there to help, secure that's they have good players. So I have them winning their first 4 games in the season. They play at San Francisco, which I said I think they pull up a kind of an upset win there. And then they play Redskins, Lions, and at the Panthers. The Redskins, I have a concern about that pass rush, but I think that Hopkins, Kirk, and Fitz can get past it. I think that Kenyon Drake can still get through to make plays. The Lions, I just don't see really stopping them on defense. And the Panthers, I like their offense, but again, like the Lions, this defense for the Panthers, I just don't think is going to stop. It's a lot of rookies. I think they drafted only defensive players in the draft, which was, I think, an NFL first. I could be wrong on that, but I think I remember.
No, they got an offensive lineman.
Oh, okay. So they drafted almost all defenders. So I think this is a good start to the season. I think these are good teams. Other than the Niners, I think the Redskins, Lions, and Panthers are nice teams that Kyler Murray can kind of adjust with DeAndre Hopkins to kind of get used to this new playmaker. I still think D-Hop has a good pep in his step. He's still a dominant playmaker. Although he's not – I don't think what he was like 3 years ago, but he's still an elite receiver. Larry Fitz is still there to be your third. Larry Fitzgerald is a Hall of Famer. He's your third receiving option. He's going to play out of the slant still. Kenyon Drake's there. Chase Edmonds is a competent. Like, this team is poised to win, and I think this is a team that will beat bad teams but struggle with good teams is how I feel this season will go. And I think that reflects that 9-7 kind of record.
Even though you have them squeaking one out against the 49ers. That's kind of a bold prediction.
I do. I think it has to do with the fact that it's coming off, as I mentioned with the Niners, they're going to be a little bit rustier with some of these. Trent Williams is an amazing O-lineman, but that's still that connection that Joe Staley had. And Joe Staley was phenomenal. So there's a little adjustment there trying to figure out, how do we run the ball here? How do I trust Trent Williams with this? And then there's, the D-line I don't think is going to have the same pep in its step at the beginning. So I think that this is one of those examples of the Cardinals will win this one, and then that second game, everybody goes, the Cardinals won the first game, and the Cardinals are not going to have fun this second game against the Niners. The Niners will know it. Kyle Shanahan will adapt. I just think that the Niners are going to be a slower starting team, and I think the Cardinals are actually going to be a hot start team. I think they're really going to burst, and I kind of have them having these lulls in the season, but then having these I describe it like I describe Kenyon Drake, and this is a really good analogy that the fantasy footballers use. Kenyon Drake's like lightning in a bottle. He's electricity. He'll zap and he'll hit, and then sometimes it's out. And I think that will be the Cardinals team. Yeah. I think this team will zap, and when it zaps, it zaps. When it doesn't zap, it doesn't zap.
I think that's a good analysis. I think, in my opinion, Isaiah Simmons at 8 is the best pick in the draft. I thought he should definitely go number 3. Top 5 at the least. But him going 8 to the Cardinals is a godsend for the Cardinals. I think Isaiah Simmons is one of the most versatile players on defense that we've seen in years in years previous. I think his upside is massive, and I think he'll be a very big disruptive force for a lot of the teams in the NFC West this year. I think he gets his first big taste of what it's like to play on a big stage against the 49ers first game of the season. I do think that the Cardinals will lose this game only because I think that 49ers are just a better team overall. They're more cohesive, and they did have some big losses with Joe Staley and DeForest Buckner, but not like besides those two, the core has stayed pretty much the same. Those players, Joe Staley's been there for a long time. He was getting a little bit older. And DeForest Buckner, I would say that's a pretty big loss. He's a really big vocal point on that line to really bring them together, especially with the rookie Bosa last year. I think he's probably their biggest loss that they made, or the biggest loss that they had. But I do think that they lose, the Cardinals lose against the 49ers week 1, and then come back and beat the Redskins and the Lions in week 2 and 3. Both those games are at home for the Cardinals. And then I do think that week 4, they have another loss at the Panthers. I think the Cardinals only have really one person that could be effective against the Panthers, and that's Isaiah Simmons. I think if Isaiah Simmons shuts down CMC, I think it's a completely different game. Because Isaiah Simmons,
if I could stop cars, I'd be a superhero.
Exactly. But that's what Isaiah Simmons is going to have to live up to. Is he's going to have to be a superhero on that defense in order for them to succeed. Their DBs are not bad. I think they're one of the best in the division, if not the best, with Budda Baker and Patrick Peterson, even though Patrick Peterson's a little bit older now. I think that them against CMC is going to be a really tough matchup, and I actually think the Panthers eke this one out, especially with an experienced quarterback like Teddy Bridgewater, really like understanding, being able to understand an offense in less than a year with the Saints, like he did with the Saints. I think that he can be an effective weapon, especially against a team like the Cardinals, who really haven't found their identity as a team yet, which I do think they find this year. I think this will be the last year that they have where they're a mediocre team, and I think next year they really propel themselves into a really good team. But this year their schedule isn't the best. It is mainly because of their division games. I mean, they do play some outside games like the Cowboys and the Patriots, but I think their schedule is a little tough this year. Moving on to week 5, though, the Cardinals at the Jets. I think they get back on track. I think Cardinals against a New York Jets team with Sam Darnold at the helm, I think you can always count that as a win. I just think that Sam Darnold is a very vastly overrated player with a terrible coach. So it's just a terrible.
The worst coach.
Your worst coach. But I think the Jets are just in shambles this year. And I think it shows in this game. I think Cardinals get the dub.
Yeah, so, I mean, I agree with you on that. I have them, and I see you do as well, losing to the Cowboys. I think this comes down to a matter of – I think that this game comes down to who can create the one time that they don't get a play, because I think that Kyler Murray is an electric player. But I think that Dallas can cover that middle of the field more with that linebacking set, and that cuts off some of Kyler Murray's ability. I mean, DeAndre Hopkins will get a play. I'm sure Christian Kirk will break something. I think this comes down to the fact that I don't think the Cardinals' defense is going to be able to stop the Dallas offense. I don't think they'll be able to get to the quarterback, so they're going to have to wait there. And if they wait, then I think this comes down to just kind of where you pair it up. I think Dallas just has an advantage in personnel here. I mean, it could be that Mike McCarthy's a terrible head coach, in which case this will probably go to the Cards.
What are you talking about? Everybody loves this pick as a coach. This pick for a coach. Mike McCarthy just got a bad rap in Green Bay.
Very Dallas. But I think this just comes down to the Cardinals against good teams are probably going to struggle, and I'm willing to say that the Cowboys will be a good team this year. And with bad teams will beat them up.
I agree with you that they're going to lose to the Cowboys. I think it's only for the fact that this game comes down to one thing in my mind, and that's the run game. I think I thought Arizona's defensive line last year it was middle of the road. It was according to Pro Football Focus, or I'm sorry, Football Outsiders, it was ranked like 14th or something last year. And I still think that that Arizona can shut down Zeke, but I truly think that if Zeke goes off in this game, it'll be a completely different game than the Cardinals want it to be. The Cardinals want it to be a shootout over in the air. I think that's how they get the win, is if it's a shootout and Dak makes some bonehead throws. But I think if the Cowboys control this game on the ground, I think this is an easy win for the Cowboys.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think there's any easy wins ever in the NFL, but I like that. I agree.
Unless you're playing the Jets.
Even with the Jets, no, let's move on. I hate that game. Like I said, with the Seattle one, I have the Cards splitting it. I think the Cards just get them on this one.
Yeah, me too.
I think that Cliff King, this offense just kind of rolls up. They don't quite know what to do with Hopkins, and just kind of they just roll out. They zap them, and then Arizona moves into the bye week.
Week 8, yep.
So they come out. Miami.
2 weeks to prepare for Miami.
God. So week 9, Miami. This is a W. This is Kenyon Drake gets to come back and be like, you remember me? They get a kind of roll up. Yeah, he still gets to play his old team, and I think that'll be one of the games that Kendrick will feel he'll want to prove it a little more maybe with this new team that he's worth the contract, or I guess it's a 1-year contract, but D-Hop gets kind of an easier time. Like they beat him out. If Tua's starting, he's playing against some really good linebackers and some veteran DBs and Budda Baker, who's a talented safety. Or if it's Fitz, what Fitz do we see?
That's true. You never know. Week to week, you never know what Fitz you're gonna get, but sometimes that man can pull out one of the best wins.
Yeah, so I mean, I have the W there, and then the following 3 weeks, I actually have them losing the next 3 games.
I have them losing 2 out of the 3. So let's go to week 10. Where do you, so you have the Cardinals beating Cardinals losing to Buffalo in Arizona?
Yeah, so like I've said, I don't think fans will be there. Not that that's, I think, a huge thing. I think that Buffalo is a defensive-focused team, and this is a classic. Can you just slow down this kind of lightning in a bottle offense? And I think that Sean McDermott and this defense can. They added Stephon Diggs to the offense, so I think this is one of those games where Stephon Diggs really has a field day. I think that Buffalo just kind of slows this game to a pace that Arizona is uncomfortable with, and I think that teams like this, when you slow them down, sometimes expose some of the core mistakes that they make, and I think that kind of this what feels like going to be a pass-heavy offense is going to feel the need to make big plays to kind of catch up for the time loss, and they're going to get caught up. If you try to make the big play, sometimes it tends to be what kills the big play.
Yeah. I actually have them, the Cardinals, winning this game. I do think it's a toss-up. However, I don't think it's an easy win or a game that they win a lot by. I do think that beating Buffalo could really help their, I would say, team momentum going forward in the season, especially with 2 big games back-to-back right after Buffalo. That if the Cardinals can eke out a win against Buffalo, I feel like their confidence goes up against Seattle and then at New England. I think that I think that Cardinals and Buffalo actually match up really well together. I think that it'll be a very close game in the fact that the Cardinals will have to go through the air to really win. And if Hopkins can go off against the Buffalo secondary and really spread that secondary open, that'll allow Murray to really tear apart that offense for those 7-8 yard plays, even if it's him running. If he gets spread open, that defense, I think it'd be a totally different.
I mean, I think I get what you're saying. I mean, there is a potential for Arizona to just be too big on the field. There's too much to handle for Buffalo.
I feel like if there's going to be a year where they're really good on defense, it'll be this year. I think Patrick Peterson is in a regression, and they'll need to replace him soon. But I think if they're going to be good on defense, it'll be this year.
Yeah, I see. We disagree on that, but that's all right.
And then I do agree with you that they lose against Seattle.
I think we covered that with the Seattle one, just kind of this split. Seattle seems to kind of get the number the second time. And then week 12 at New England. This feels like one of those times where Bill Belichick gets to play against somebody who's growing. And I feel like that's the biggest pro that New England has, is that their coach knows how to deal with quarterbacks that make mistakes. And Kyler Murray still at this point makes mistakes.
Yep.
I don't think it's like Lamar Jackson. I think that's kind of a comp that I've heard a couple of people now say that Lamar and the Ravens did it. I think that Kyler Murray is talented, but I think Lamar is incredibly special. This just feels like a game where this offense gets some big plays, but they get stalled out some bit, and I think that their defense is good, but I don't think it's going to stop New England. I think really this game comes down to the fact that Bill Belichick is going to spend a lot of time watching film on Kyler Murray and seeing his tendencies, what he does outside of the pocket, and is going to try and push him to uncomfortable spots. Yeah. And that New England defense, although at the end of the year got a little more exposed, I think that they'll find ways to disguise things and hide what they do more in New England. And it's in New England, which is, week 12 is probably not fun to play in with the weather. I know I've said the weather's not a big deal, But I think for some of these teams like Kyler Murray, maybe playing in it the first couple times can be something, to adjust to.
Yeah, I think that's a really good analysis on Bill Belichick's impact in this game. If any coach in the NFL knows how to pick at a weakness, it's Bill Belichick. And he'll find them, in bunches and really exploit Kyler Murray in this game. I feel like I think New England beats the hell out of the Cardinals in this game. The Cardinals are really like unproven at this point right now. However, by the time they get to New England in Week 12, they could be a different squad in the sense that their momentum could be high if they get a few big wins. I think Arizona has a lot of 50-50 games to me where you can get that lightning strike in a bottle offense and really do well against some good teams, not great teams. I think they struggle against great teams, like you said, but they'll have some games where they do well against good teams. And New England will be a good team this year. I don't think they'll be a great team. I think they'll be a good team with a solid defense, and I think they struggle against that and Bill Belichick in New England. I think that's going to be a tough ask for the second-year Kyler Murray. And I just want to touch back on that Lamar Jackson comparison. Lamar Jackson has had last season way more weapons than Kyler Murray has now. I mean, throw Hopkins in the bunch, you make him instantly better. But besides that, who the heck is he going to depend on in a big game situation?
I just think fundamentally that these two quarterbacks, they're mobile, and so I think people throw them in together. I think that Kyler Murray fits much more of the mold of what we've seen out of some of these other like Russell Wilson type mobiles, where Lamar Jackson fits the mold much more of what Michael Vick was. And I think fundamentally these two quarterbacks are different, but I think that a lot of commentators are kind of older, and so they just kind of group mobile quarterbacks together.
Yeah.
Well, I think Lamar is truly something special. I think Kyler Murray is talented, and Kyler Murray will be a good to great quarterback. There's a chance, and I firmly believe that it's a chance that Lamar Jackson will be a historic quarterback with Patrick Mahomes. I think that those two will be your next Tom Brady, Peyton Manning storylines for the NFL. We finished winning. So then I have them winning 3 in a row against the Rams, Giants, and Eagles.
Week 13, 14, and 15.
Yes, I have them winning 3 in a row. I think that the Eagles don't have DBs to stop them, and I think Kyler Murray can escape some of the pass rush a little bit. The Giants, it'll be offense versus offense. And with the Rams, I just think that Jalen Ramsey can only do so much, and McVay can only call up so much for Goff to do.
Yeah.
I do have them splitting with the Rams. Now, like I said with Seattle, if Arizona beat the Rams twice, I wouldn't be stunned. Although if that happens and Seattle happens, the record for me for the Rams is looking at 4-12.
I agree with you. I agree with you about the Cardinals game. I do think that they split them, but I think it's for a different reason. I think that they split them because they play them twice in 5 weeks. I think the first time the Cardinals will get them just because it's in Arizona, and I think by this time of the season they're going to be on a little bit of a redemption pattern that they want to get to before the playoffs. After losing 2 games in a row for me at Seattle and at New England, I think they get a little bit of redemption here and they get the win. And I do think they get the win at the Giants. I just think the Giants are possibly one of the worst teams in the NFL this year. I think bottom 5. But I do think that they win or that they lose against the Eagles in Arizona. I think the Eagles are going to be a great team this year if they can stay healthy. And if they're healthy by week 15, I think the Eagles irk this one out. But if they're not healthy, I think the Cardinals get the win. But for right now, playing on that, going by the fact that they're all going to be healthy, or playing off the fact that they're all going to be healthy at this point, I have the Eagles winning. And then I have the Cardinals actually losing the last 2 games of the season in week 16.
We both agree on that.
Yeah, I think they lose against the 49ers. I have them being swept by the 49ers. You have them taking 1 apiece in the series. And then I have them losing at the Rams. I think Sean McVay will, in a couple weeks, will have a different game plan for them where they struggle. And the Rams are going to be trying to chase a playoff berth, I'm sure, with that 7th spot. I think they're a perfect team for that 7th spot. where they'll barely get there, and that they may be able to put up some points against a good team that's going to be playing them. But I think the Cardinals lose the last 3 games of the season to end up 8-8.
Yeah, I have them at 9-7.
Yeah,
so we're pretty similar there on how we kind of like their outlook is.
It's not going to be a bad season for the Cardinals. I feel like I don't think that they'll go 4-12 or anything like that. I think it'll be they'll be competitive in almost every single one of their games. An improvement from last year where they were either getting blown out or they were blowing out somebody. And I think Kyler Murray will grow as an NFL quarterback, grow in a second year with a coach that knows the system that they want to run. They know how to implement it. Now it's the time where I believe they start becoming successful.
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't think I have questions about this team, and I have questions about Kyler Murray. He looked a lot better than I thought he would be. Cliff Kingsbury didn't look as incompetent as I thought he would be. That's my way of. I was not a Cliff Kingsbury fan, so I had questions. He looked a lot better. Yes, that kind of wraps up our NFC West schedule. So we have them. Finally, I have the San Francisco 49ers finishing 12-4, Seattle Seahawks finishing 10-6, the Arizona Cardinals at 9-7, and the Los Angeles Rams at 6-10.
Yeah, I have actually San Francisco and Seattle getting the same record, 11-5. However, I do think San Francisco wins the division only because of their division wins. I think Seattle can definitely win both games of the series. It's a possibility. I do think they split it, however, so that could be a huge factor. And again, they play last game of the regular season again. So that first seed in the division is going to be definitely up for grabs, and it'll definitely be a big thing for seeding in the playoffs, especially with that 7th seed. So I have San Francisco right now. I have them 1, Seattle 2, the Rams 3rd at 9-7. Again, I think they're a perfect team for that 7th spot in the playoff run if they can get their stuff together near the end of the season. That means, for me, they have to win their last 4 games of the season against New England, against the Jets, at Seattle, and against Arizona. So it'll be some tough games for them to win. I think they can do it and possibly get in there with a 9-7 record. But I also think the Rams are not the Rams. I also think that the Cardinals are on that same precipice as the Rams are. I think that the Cardinals could pose as a really good 7th seed in the NFC and could give a team that's higher ranked a real run for their money if given some time to prepare for them. Just because they're such an odd team to go against because of Kyler and now the addition of Hopkins and then Drake. I think it can be a multifaceted offense if allowed to be. So yeah, that's my NFC West.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, we just want to say thank you for listening to our records. Please be sure to catch our show on ranking the teams overall by position later this week. And we'll see you then. All right. Thank you very much.
See ya.